All right. Today I want to talk a little bit about how to tune a guitar by ear. We've gotten so used to tuning boxes and strobe tuners and all that stuff. But assuming you're somewhere near a keyboard or you can get a reference point, preferably a low E or a high E. If you got a low E, to start with that. And then I want to show you a couple different things I do. Because guitars, sometimes they get, to tune them all the way up the neck is a little bit difficult. But I always do that because if it could be in tune on a low E like this. That's fairly in tune. Close enough for rock and roll, right? But then you get up to another E. Pretty good. Pretty good. That's how I test it. I go all the way up. So if you know, we've talked about this. Actually, we did a course on all the different shapes that you can do various A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the different chords in. But in this case, I want to show you one way I do it is the classic way of tuning is you go like a. So you're on your 5th fret, right? You fret, and then you do your open A, and then you got your open D below, closed D, and your closed G. Then you have that pesky B string where you got to go down to a B on your 4th fret of your G string, and then of course back to the 5th fret of your B string to your open E. That's a classic. But another way you can do it is you can go an octave, like you have an open E. This is assuming you have a reference point to an open E. You can go up to the 7th fret on your A string, tune that way, so you can check it that way as well. Same thing on the A string, the A to the D string. So you got right here, you're on your 7th fret of your D string, which is an A note. So you're working off your open A and then your closed A. Same thing on the D. Again, you're on the 7th fret, this time on the G string. And of course on the B, we have to go up to the 8th fret. And then back down to the 7th fret for the high E. So here's what that sounds like. I'm just checking basically up and down. And then let's check it another way. Feels like we're pretty close all the way. Another way to do it, and I do this subconsciously. We were talking about a lot of this stuff you do along the way. You can hit harmonics. That's a little bit more difficult. So you just basically touch on the 5th fret of your E, and then the 7th fret of your A. Same thing, repeat. The 5th fret of your A, 7th fret of your D, and then the 5th fret of your D, 7th fret of your G. Then you run into trouble with the B, so you're back to this because of the way the B is. And then like that. You do your 5th fret on your B, 7th fret on your high E. So these are all, like if you put them all together. Okay? You can go all the way around. Now, another thing I do when I'm tuning, and this has to do with the particular guitar, every guitar is different. Sometimes what I'll do is, depending on what key I'm playing the song in, I'll check the various different voicings of the same chord and see if it's working. Depending on what my place in the song is, if I'm playing lead or rhythm, if I'm going around all the way up. This guitar, this Strat, stays in tune pretty well and has pretty good intonation. Not all guitars are like that. But you'll notice I'm hitting just a regular 1st position E. Then I'm jumping up here to a 3rd position E, which is just like a D chord, but in a D shape. And then this one is particularly interesting. I use this one a lot, especially when I'm in the key of E. I'll do all E's and B's, so it looks like this. That one's particularly handy because sometimes I'll go from a low E up to here. That sounds pretty good. That's the full E chord. But if you do your first finger on the 7th fret of the A string, and then your other 2 fingers respectively on the 9th frets of the D and the G string, okay? So it's basically you're only fretting, and all the rest are open. Check this out. You got E, E, B, E, B, E. So it's all B's and E's. So sometimes that's helpful if you're playing in the key of E and you want to just quickly check. You can do it. And so when I'm tuning, if I have a reference point, if there's not a tuner around, I just, you got to still use your ear to hear a low E. That's like the lowest note in my register. That's how I identify it when I'm on my own. My lowest note that I can hit vocally, depending on what time of day it is, of course, is usually close to an E. Today I'm barely getting to it. So that's one of the ways you can do a quick tuning check on your guitar, going up the neck. Same thing on an A. It could be. I often will do the same chord, but in all the different positions, just to see how close I can get up and down the neck. It's not always going to be perfect. Depends on the guitar, the intonation, what you're playing, how you bend it. You can bend stuff right out of tune. Teach a lot of kids. In the summertime, I used to run a program with kids, and you get these kids going in there playing. It's supposed to be sounding like this, but they'll put out like a whole Seattle grunge thing on it and bend it. Sometimes that's part of the sound, but more often than not, it's not. So you got to make sure when you're putting a chord, try and make sure you're hitting it true, as opposed to bending it out. That's something that comes with practice and with time. So anyway, that's just one of the tricks of the trade that we use, especially playing live with a band where you don't have, it's not a game of perfect, right? You got a bunch of stringed instruments up there, so you got to find kind of a relative pitch that works all the way through. So I hope you enjoyed that little tuning exercise, and we'll see you down the road.
My friend Jimmy has the coolest guitar lessons. Go to jimmydillon.com/free and get all your amazing gifts. He's the best.